Yo. Welcome back to Son of a Preacher Man. As always, I'm your host, the Soapman. Now, ladies and gentlemen, first I want to thank you for joining me this evening. I have a very special episode to share with you. This is a story that I have been eagerly and anxiously anticipating, and now we're here. So I got a lot to cover, so I'm not going to waste any time. Let's just jump right off into it. Now, we all fascinated with strong men. As Americans, in this culture, in this society, in this lifetime, my generation, generations before me, we all love our strong men. So as far as I can remember, as far back as I can remember, as far back as history goes, from what I've read, we've always been fascinated with big bulging muscles, big rippling muscles, veins bulging, immense stature, and extraordinary feats of strength. The list goes on and on of those we idolize. The Incredible Hulk. Who hasn't heard of this massive mountain of muscle? Did you like the alliteration I just put together right there on the spot for you? The mighty Thor. How's that for brute strength? No? Not good enough for you? How about Superman? This goes back to my daddy and my granddaddy's day. Superman been around for like 80, 100 years. Known all over the world, most of these figures, most of these icons, known all over the world. And know what they known for? Know what all these superheroes, these comic book superheroes are known for? Immense strength. Remember Bruce Willis in the movie Unbreakable? One of my favorites, one of the greatest movies of all time, because it took the fantasy of comic books and brought it right out of the pages into real life. It showed you what the comic books would look like if they were real life. And Bruce Willis killed that role in that movie, playing the strong man with the weakness of water. Great movie if you've never seen it. One of my favorite movies of all time. X-Men's The Juggernaut. This dude is so strong and unstoppable, even the Hulk couldn't stop him. Batman's Bane. Now this guy isn't as well known as some of the prior slides I've just shown, but this steroid freak really came to fame during Christian Bale's portrayal of Batman. Another one of my personal favorites, He-Man, Master of the Universe. Real talk, let me just go on a 30-second tangent or rant or transient or tangerant or retangent, whatever you want to call it. He-Man is one of the greatest made-up characters ever. I used to play with the toys. I used to have all the figures, Battle Cat, Skeletor, dude, I had them all. Masters of the Universe was one of the best movies. I do not know why they made a sequel. The starring the main character, Dolph Lundgren. There's very few roles in movies that I've liked him in. I liked him in Rocky IV. I liked him in a couple other movies, but he was the in Masters of the Universe. They couldn't have cast a better person for the role of He-Man. Why they didn't make a sequel, I don't know. It's not too late. Last but not least, another one of my favorites, Conan the Barbarian. I read all of Robert, whatever his last name is. I forget the author's name. I read all of the Conan books, but I've been like fascinated and a Conan fan all the way back to when I was 6 years old. This was back when On TV was the major cable company that you could get cable through. And I saw my old man, I snuck and saw my old man watching Conan the Barbarian. This was way back in the day when this first came out. He probably don't even remember this. Anyway, I got a lot to cover, so I can't spend too much time on this. We could go on forever, because in human culture since the beginning of time, both men and women have admired strong men. And I should mention that not one of these heroes is a real person, which means we idolize the mere idea of strength. Ladies and gentlemen, in this episode, we will be discussing... In this episode, we will discuss history's first and original strong man, an actual historical figure with the strength of make-believe superheroes. What I mean is, we just went through a bunch of superheroes and they're all fake. But this man, the Bible purports to have strength like the heroes we just talked about, but he's a real-life individual. He's a real-life individual with what can only be described as superhuman strength. Something straight out of the comic books. This is classic Bible. The Bible, from time to time, makes claims that are unbelievable, and it expects you to believe it. It tells the story as though it really happened, like it's gospel truth, proven fact. And the things it expects you to believe are so extraordinary, and that is just classic Bible. And the story of Samson is just quintessential classic Bible, expecting you to believe the unbelievable. So, we're talking about Samson, the 12th judge of Israel. Ladies and gentlemen, son of a preacher man proudly presents to you the book of Judges, part 5, Samson, man of renown. Now, we talked about these men of renown before. I've even argued with some of you in the comment section about who the men of renown were. And it's just a generalized term to refer or describe someone who's reached a certain status, someone who's reached a certain level in history to where they gonna go down in the history books forever. We talking about somebody like Moses or Joshua or the Greek gods or the prophets. But Samson is none of that. He's none of them. But yet, he still reached the status of a man of renown. Now let's find out why. Judges chapter 12 verses 8 through 15 reads, and after him, meaning Jephthah. In my last episode, just for a quick recap, the last judge we talked about was the judge Jephthah. He was a Gileadite who resided in the land of Gilead, and he fought off the children of Ammon when they were starting to make incursions into Israel and oppressing the Israelites. So it says, after him, meaning Jephthah, Ibzan of Bethlehem judged Israel. And he had 30 sons and 30 daughters, whom he sent abroad for his sons. And he judged Israel 7 years. Then died Ibzan and was buried at Bethlehem. And after him, Elon, a Zebulunite, judged Israel. And he judged Israel for 10 years. And Elon, the Zebulunite, died and was buried in Aijalon in the country of Zebulun. And after him, Abdon, the son of Hillel, the Pirathonite, judged Israel. And he had 40 sons and 30 nephews that rode on 70 ass colts. And he judged Israel 8 years. And Abdon, the son of Hillel, the Pirathonite, died and was buried in Pirathion in the land of Ephraim, in the mount of the Amalekites. So what the Bible is trying to inform you of right now is that after the death of Jephthah, you have these minor judges that pop up. They're not like the major judges where they, wage these major wars or battles. They're more just like, if I could translate it in Negro terms, they more or less just held it down. So you have these minor judges that come to power after the death of Jephthah. And after the death of the last minor judge, the Bible picks up in Judges chapter 13, verses 1 through 7, and it reads, "And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Lord. And the Lord delivered them into the hand of the Philistines for 40 years. Now, mind you, the Philistines, if you remember back in the last episodes, the Philistines had popped their head up and was oppressing the tribes of Israel along with the children of Ammon when Jephthah became judge. Now, Jephthah is on the east side of the Jordan River, and the Philistines are on the west side of the Jordan River. So Jephthah didn't really engage with the Philistines. He fought off the children of Ammon, the Ammonites. But what this is saying is that the Philistines oppressed the children of Israel for 40 years. So even as Jephthah, remember I told you early in these episodes in the dealing with the book of Judges that a lot of these judges, their times run into each other. A lot of times that their oppressors are ruling over them. A lot of these things run over into each other. It's not all nice and neat and fitting snug in the box all the time. This is a time of chaos, just to put it simply. So the Philistines, even back when Jephthah was judge, start oppressing the children of Israel, but on the west side of the Jordan River. Okay, so we all caught up. I hope we all on the same page. I keep stuttering and staggering. Okay, so it says, "And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Lord." This shouldn't be a surprise. This is how it always starts off when we get to a new judge or after a judge. Israel does evil again in the sight of the Lord. "And the Lord delivered them into the hand of the Philistines 40 years. And there was a certain man of Zorah, of the family of the Danites, whose name was Manoah, and his wife was barren," meaning she could not have children, "and bare not. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto the woman, and said unto her, Behold now, thou art barren, and bearest not, but thou shalt conceive, and bear a son. Now, therefore, beware, I pray thee, and drink not wine nor strong drink, and eat not any unclean thing. For lo, thou shalt conceive, and bear a son, and no razor shall come on his head. For the child shall be a Nazarite unto God from the womb. And he shall begin to deliver Israel out of the hand of the Philistines." Now you notice what I got in big, bold, red print. And I always have something in big, bold, red print for a reason. It says, "Then the woman came and told her husband, saying, A man of God came unto me, and his countenance was like the countenance of an angel of God, very terrible. But I asked him not whence he was, neither told me his name. Neither told he me his name. But he said unto me, Behold, thou shalt conceive and bear a son. And now drink no wine nor strong drink, neither eat any unclean thing, for the child shall be a Nazarite to God from the womb to the day of his death." So, Manoah's wife is visited by an angel. And immediately your mind imagines glowing fairy men, naked or half-naked winged men and women, some enigmatic being radiating light, dressed in armor, bearing various human weapons. I mean, dude, our imagination runs wild. We read something in the Bible and our imagination just takes off. You see, we want to fill in all the gaps with our ignorance and figments of our imagination. And then on top of that, we want to call it real. So Manoah's wife, it says, sees an angel. And we, being the audience, with knee-jerk like reflexes, start imagining things that the Bible didn't even say. The Bible didn't say anything about Manoah's wife saw a floating man or a glowing man. They didn't say she saw some winged warrior. But we act as though we know what she saw. She said she saw an angel, and we said we know what that is. But let's dissect exactly what it was Manoah's wife saw. Of all the stories in the Bible involving an encounter with an angel, this one, along with Gideon's encounter, which we discussed a couple episodes ago, they are the most difficult to understand, and at the same time, they are the most revealing. You can learn a lot from these two stories. What makes the story of Manoah's wife so believable is that Manoah's wife is a very credible character and witness. She does everything right, so to speak. She does what we would expect her to do. She seems very real. She seems very rational and believable. After her encounter with the angel, Manoah's wife does what you would expect her to do. She runs back and tells her husband. Manoah's wife tells him what she saw. She tries her best to describe in, at least a little detail what it was she saw and what was said between them. She literally says that she saw what seemed to be to her an angel. At least that's what it looked like. She says he had the countenance of an angel of God. And what countenance means is the appearance, what he looked like, his presence, his demeanor, how he made her feel. And she described his countenance as being very terrible. Now, if you remember back in Gideon's encounter with an angel, it was very similar to that of Manoah's wife. In episode 47, I talked about Gideon's visitation by an angel, but I didn't go into much detail. I wanted to wait until I got to Manoah's wife being visited by an angel and tackle both encounters simultaneously. Now, Judges chapter 6 verses 9 through 15 are Gideon's encounter with the angel. So let's just skim through it real quick, okay? I'm doing this for a reason, so just please bear with me. And it says, "And I delivered you out of the hand of the Egyptians and out of the hand of all that oppressed you, and I drave them out before you and gave you their land. And I said unto you, I am the Lord your God. Fear not the gods of the Amorites, in whose land ye dwell. But ye have not obeyed my voice. And there came an angel of the Lord and sat under an oak which was in Ophrah, that pertaineth unto Joash the Abiezrite. And his son Gideon threshed wheat by the winepress, to hide it from the Midianites. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto him and said unto him, The Lord is with thee, thou mighty man of valor. And Gideon said unto him, O my Lord, if the Lord be with us, why then is all this befallen us?" So you have Gideon having this full-blown conversation with this angel, just like Manoah's wife. He doesn't appear to be asleep. He doesn't appear to be, having a vision. He's having a conversation with a person who he's suspicious may be more than a person. And it's real similar to Manoah's wife. So, just finishing up, and it says, just the back and forth. He says, "Oh my Lord, if the Lord be with us, then why is all this befallen us? And where be all the miracles which our fathers told us of, saying, Did not the Lord bring us up from Egypt? But now the Lord hath forsaken us and delivered us into the hands of the Midianites." And the Lord looked upon him and said, Go in this thy might, and thou shalt save Israel from the hand of the Midianites. Have not I sent thee? And he said unto them, O my Lord, wherewith shall I save Israel? Behold, my family is poor in Manasseh, and I am the least in my father's house. So what I'm trying to get you to see is Gideon's having a full-blown conversation with this dude, back and forth, answering questions, reasoning, debating, challenging. How could this be a vision or a dream? And Manoah's wife is similar. Let me read a little bit more of this. "And the Lord said unto him, Surely I will be with thee, and thou shalt smite the Midianites as one man. And he said unto him, If now I have found grace in thy sight, then show me a sign that thou talkest with me. Depart not then." See, listen to how Gideon's talking to this angel. "Give me a sign, pinch me, let me know I'm not dreaming." He says, "Depart not hence, I pray thee, until I come unto thee and bring forth my present and set it before thee. And he said, I will tarry until thou come again. This is negotiating. And Gideon went in and made ready a kid and unleavened cakes of an ephah of flour, and the flesh he put in a basket. And he put the broth in a pot and brought it out unto him under the oak and presented it. And the angel of God said unto him, take the flesh and the unleavened cakes and lay them upon this rock and pour out the broth. And he did so. And the angel of the Lord put forth the end of the staff that was in his hand and touched the flesh and the leavened cakes. And there rose up fire out of the rock and consumed the flesh and the unleavened cakes. Then the angel of the Lord departed out of his sight. And when Gideon perceived that it was an angel of the Lord, see, now at the end of the story does Gideon realize that his suspicions were right. It says, and when Gideon perceived that he was an angel of the Lord, Gideon said, alas, O Lord God, for because I have seen an angel of the Lord face to face. And the Lord said unto him, peace be unto thee, fear not, thou shalt not die, because Gideon thought he was going to die as a result of seeing God. So I hope you see the similarity between Gideon and Manoah's wife, because I'm damn near out of breath and I just went through a lot reading all that for you to understand it. So Judges chapter 6 verses 9 through 23 tells of Gideon's encounter with an angel. We see the similarities between Gideon and Manoah's wife. In both accounts, both Gideon and Manoah's wife behave how you would expect them to. They proceed cautiously after the initial encounter, suspecting that there is more to this being than what appears to be, which suggests that the angel looks human. When people hear the word angel, they automatically imagine wings, fire, smoke, gleaming swords, and armor. But these are simply the imaginations of man. Nowhere in the text do we see anything about winged people or floating people or glowing people. In fact, the text implied the exact opposite. Both Gideon and Manoah's wife are suspicious of what appears to be a human being. Manoah's wife says the man had the countenance of an angel, which means he looked like or appeared or dressed or gave the impression of. Judges chapter 6 verses 15 through 23 reads, and the Lord said unto him, oh, I just read this, I'm sorry. So now, just like with Manoah's wife, this angel tells Gideon the future. Usually when God speaks to someone, it is to tell them the future. That is what prophecy is. That is what prophecy means. If you want to understand the Bible, you really have to unlearn a lot of what you've picked up and believe to be true. It's kind of like this. I was once looking at a picture of a heart. This was back when I was in nursing school. My son, he was like 6 or 7 at the time, and he was sitting next to me and he asked me, what was that? And I said, it's a heart. And I could tell from the confused look on his face that his whole little young life, he had only seen pictures of a cartoon heart. He wasn't living in reality. So when I showed him a picture of, so when he saw this picture of what a real heart looked like, he was confused. So to rectify this conundrum, I showed him a picture of a tiger. And then I showed him a picture of Tony the tiger, the iconic cartoon tiger on the Frosted Flakes box, so that he would know the difference between real and make-believe, so that he would know the difference between a real tiger and a make-believe tiger. So he would know the difference between a real heart and a make-believe heart. But some of you, a lot of y'all grown and still believe in make-believe. Think about it. Why would an angel, now think about this. I want you to think about this very carefully. I am not trying to be funny, okay? But why would an angel need to have a man-made weapon if he or she were real? Think about this. You're an angel. Why would you have a sword? Why would this supernatural being need a sword, need a shield, need armor to protect him from what? The devil's armed guard? When you think about these things, it's really very silly. So I take a more grown-up approach to reading the text. If it doesn't say that they were dressed in armor with wings sprouting out of their back, there's no need to assume that they were. So an angel appears to Manoah's wife. And we are given no further context than that, other than she says it had the countenance of an angel, very terrible. We don't know if she was sleeping. We don't know if she was dreaming. It just said an angel comes to her. The Bible just says an angel appeared to her. At least we have some context in Gideon's story. He was threshing wheat, hiding food from the Midianites. This just says an angel comes to her. We don't know what she's doing. We don't know if she's sleeping. We don't know if she's awake. We don't know if she's gardening. An angel appears to Manoah's wife. And the angel tells her the future. He tells her that she will have a son. And he gives her specific instructions as to how she's to raise this son. Let's go through them. First, Manoah's wife is to drink no strong drink or wine. Second, Manoah's wife must eat no unclean thing according to Jewish law. And third, no razor must ever touch this child's head, for he is to be raised a Nazirite from the womb to the day of his death, the Bible says. Okay, so being raised a Nazirite is a whole ordeal in itself. In fact, all these rules, these 3 rules I just read, are all included in living as a Nazirite, along with many other rules, such as not touching dead carcasses. And I'm listing that specific rule for a reason. We're going to talk about that in about 2 more episodes. So not touching dead things is also another rule, among many others. So this is to be done or started before the child is born, before the child is even conceived. The angel tells Manoah's wife, this starts with you, because he needs to be raised this way from the womb. So starting with you, you are not to eat any unclean thing. You are not to drink strong drink or wine. You are not to touch any dead thing. Because apparently this child is going to grow up to be some kind of great warrior, some kind of man of renown, dare I say. The angel tells her that he will begin to deliver the children of Israel out of the hands and oppression of the Philistines, who have been oppressing them for 40 years. Now, if you don't know who the Philistines are, they are one of the many nations occupying the land of Canaan. We talked about the Philistines briefly before. The Bible tells us that Shamgar defeated 600 Philistines around the time of the judge Deborah. Now, this is a pretty impressive feat, seeing that the Philistines are about the toughest tribe existing in the land of Canaan. And as time goes on, they will prove themselves to be the most lethal and effective of all Israel's adversaries. Shamgar's defeat of 600 Philistine warriors was the first of a litany of fights between Israel and the Philistines. And Shamgar's amazing victory over such overwhelming odds is truly a testament to how special he was, because the Philistines are no joke. Shamgar took the first win in this ongoing conflict, this ongoing battle, this ongoing rivalry between the children of Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel, and the Philistines. So Shamgar, it's a huge understatement to just say Shamgar defeated 600 men or 600 Philistines. They are not yet, but they will eventually become the arch nemesis of the 12 tribes. And victories over the Philistines, even though Shamgar stole the first victory, victories over the Philistines will be few and far in between. So exactly who were the Philistines and what made them so tough? Remember, after Joshua died, immediately the children of Israel began to sin, worshiping idol gods, among other things. One of their sins was that they stopped conquering the land, leaving many nations to thrive. So God says to them, you know what? I'm not going to put the rest of those nations out. Once God seen how quickly the children of Israel forgot him, he says, I'm not going to put these nations out that you forgot to put out. He says, I'm going to let them stay, and in fact, I'm going to use them to punish you when you're disobedient. Well, one of those nations that was left, that remained to thrive, was the Philistines. They occupied mostly the coastal areas bordering the Mediterranean Sea. They occupied much of what is today the Gaza Strip. Really, they occupied much more than that, but their strength was concentrated into 5 major cities. Those cities were Gath, Gaza, Ashkelon, Ashdod, and Gerar. Okay, so that's who the Philistines were. Now, what made them so strong and tough, and where did they come from? We'll answer the second question first. Where did they come from? The Philistines are believed to have migrated from, the Philistines are believed to have migrated to the land of Canaan from the island of Kaftor in ancient Greece. It is believed that the Philistines were one of many nations migrating from Greece to all around the Mediterranean coast during the great invasion of the Sea Peoples. You see, after a great earthquake and volcanic eruption, threatened the area of ancient Greece, many of those Grecians who were various tribes and nations, they picked up and left, settling all around the Mediterranean, dispersing other nations as they did so, and settling in those other nations' lands. Kind of like the Vikings did, only this was before the Vikings. After a failed attempt to settle in the Nile Delta in Egypt, the Philistines settled for the coast of the land of Canaan. So they tried to invade Egypt first. The Egyptians wasn't having it, prevented them from invading, so they invaded the coastland of the land of Canaan. Now, what made the Philistines so tough and strong? Well, it's a number of things. Really, it's 3 main things. First, they took the coastal regions, which are rich in trade, so they had money. Second, the Philistines brought with them from the Grecian islands, they brought with them iron and their superior use and know-how of how to make iron weapons and iron armor. In fact, If the other nations, including Israel, wanted iron, if they wanted iron weapons, or even if they had an iron weapon and wanted to sharpen it, they had to go to the Philistines. Such was the Philistines' superiority in resources and in warfare and in knowledge. Finally, the Philistines were a warlike nation who brought not only superior weapons and armor and armaments to the table, but also superior experience and strategy. In short, let's just say the children of Israel, let's just say the children of Israel were simply outclassed by the Philistines. Now, one more thing. I'm getting ahead of myself. One more thing. Remember before Joshua came in and cleaned house? This land was riddled with giants. And even after Joshua, the Bible says that giants remained in certain cities. There were 3 cities that the Bible said that the giants remained in. And all 3 cities that the Bible says still had giants were Philistine cities. It's important to note that, because this is no coincidence. I don't think it's a coincidence. The Bible says after Joshua cleaned house in the land of Canaan and ran through the giants, it said he died and Israel didn't finish cleaning up. And so some giants still remained in the land, and in 3 cities specifically. And those all 3 cities, you think it's a coincidence all 3 cities just happened to be Philistine cities? That should tell you something. The cities were the Philistine cities of Gath, and you see here on my map, I got it marked. The area dominated by the Philistines is here in light green. And the 3 cities that still had giants in them, according to the Bible, were Gath, Gaza, and Ashdod. And these are the 3 cities which the Bible said were still occupied by giants after Joshua's conquest. And all 3 of these cities are Philistine cities. Ancient Greek history is full of stories of giants. And these Philistines came from the Greek islands. Ancient Greek history is chock full of stories of giants and worship of giants. And it's no big deal over there to them. It's normal. Giants and the worship of giants were normal in Greece. So it should be no surprise of mention of giants in the Philistine cities, in the Philistine ranks. Okay, now back to Manoah and his wife. After Manoah's wife encounters the angel, she does a very human, a very rational, a very reasonable thing, which is she runs back and tells her husband. And this to me makes her very believable. It makes the story very believable because it's not weird. She does what you would expect a normal person that just happened to, what just happened to her. If that happened to me, that's what I would have did too. If I were her, if I were in her shoes. One last thing. Sorry, folks. Let me get back on track here. I didn't talk myself silly. Okay. I'm back on track. So we are at Judges chapter 13, verses 8 through 14. Then Manoah entreated the Lord. This is after his wife comes to him and tells him what's just happened to her. It says, then Manoah entreated the Lord, which means he prayed, and said, O my Lord, let the man of God which thou didst send come again unto us, and teach us what we shall do unto the child that shall be born. And God hearkened to the voice of Manoah, and the angel of God came again unto the woman as she sat in the field. But Manoah, her husband, was not with her. Okay, so now we giving some context. This second time she's in the field. It says, and the woman made haste and ran and showed her husband and said unto him, behold, the man hath appeared unto me that came unto me the other day. And Manoah arose and went after his wife and came to the man and said unto him, art thou the man that spakest unto the woman? And he said, I am. And Manoah said, now let thy words come to pass. How shall we order the child? And how shall we do unto him? And the angel of the Lord said unto Manoah, of all that I said unto the woman, let her beware. She may not eat of anything that cometh of the vine, neither let her drink wine or strong drink, nor eat any unclean thing. All that I commanded her, let her observe. So, after hearing his wife's story, Manoah, being the prudent fellow he is, prays to God for instruction, for direction. And he asks God to send this messenger again so that he may receive a clarification on the instructions given his wife. He like, hey, to me, he basically saying, I want to see for myself. I want to hear for myself. And that's exactly what happens. That is exactly what happens. Remember Gideon and his fleece? He got exactly what he prayed for. He asked God, he says, show me a sign. He says, I'm going to leave this fleece on the ground, and in the morning I want it to be soaking wet. And I want the ground to be completely dry. And so in the next morning, Gideon grabs the fleece, it's soaking wet. The ground is bone dry. He squeezes the contents of the fleece and it fills up a bowl with water to the brim. So he says, God, he says, indulge me this one time once more. This night I'm going to leave the fleece out, and I want you to make the ground soaking wet, but the fleece bone dry. The next morning he got just what he wanted. Well, that's what Manoah does. His wife comes back and tells him this extraordinary story. And what does he say? Give me a sign. He prays to God. He says, give me a sign. Come back. And that's exactly what he got. The Bible says, while sitting in a field, Manoah's wife has another angelic encounter by the same angel, I might add. This time she's in a field. We don't know if she's sleeping. We don't know if she's daydreaming. We don't know if she's having a vision. We don't know if she's dozed off. Look at this slide. The other person back here is falling asleep. Okay? But Manoah is not with his wife this time. So what does Manoah's wife do? She goes off and gets Manoah. She goes off. Manoah's wife is in a field. She planting crops, or maybe she's just eating an apple, reading a scroll. This angel, the very exact same angel, comes back to her. Manoah's angel, Manoah's prayer. He gets exactly what he wants. This angel visits her in the field, and what does she do? Her husband isn't with her, so she runs back, and she gets her husband. I must admit, it does not appear to be a dream, but it may well be a vision. Gideon, too, carried on a full-blown conversation with what he thought was a man of God, but a man yet in still. So Manoah's wife does what is expected. She runs off and she gets her husband and brings him back. And then the husband, Manoah, he now sees for himself. He carries on the full-blown conversation with the angel, and the angel tells him, look, man, do what I told your wife to do. Judges chapter 13, verses 15 through 21 reads, and Manoah said unto the angel of the Lord, I pray thee, let us detain thee, Look at this. Similar to Gideon. Where have we seen this before? And Manoah said unto the angel of the Lord, I pray thee, let us detain thee until we have made ready a kid for thee. See, both Manoah and Gideon, and even Abraham, if you remember back episodes ago, and even Lot, if you remember episodes ago, they all behave and react the same way when they see what they believe to be men of God or angels of God, whatever you want to call them. And the angel of the Lord said unto Manoah, though thou detain me, I will not eat of thy bread. And if thou wilt offer a burnt offering, thou must offer it unto the Lord. For Manoah knew not that he was an angel of the Lord. See, what did I tell y'all? Why don't y'all listen to the Soapman? He does not know this is an angel. He thinks this is a man. This is very important to understand in this. He thinks it's a man. It says, for Manoah knew not that he was an angel of the Lord. And Manoah said unto the angel of the Lord, who he didn't know was an angel of the Lord, what is thy name? That when thy sayings come to pass, we may do thee honor. Now, Manoah, he being real slick right now. That is very savvy of him. See, read between the lines. Manoah is suspicious of this man. It says, for Manoah knew not that this was an angel, which means he thought it was a man. But he is suspicious of this man. Why is he saying, hold on, let me go get a burnt offering? By the way, what's your name so we can do you honor when your prophecy comes true? Manoah is slick as hell. He says, what is thy name? That when thy sayings come true, that when thy sayings come to pass, we may do thee honor. And the angel of the Lord said unto him, why askest thou thus after my name, seeing it is a secret? So this angel, he answers Manoah in kind, tit for tat, with the same cleverness. He says, why are you asking me questions that you already know the answer to? So Manoah took a kid with the meat offering and offered it upon a rock unto the Lord, just like Gideon. And the angel did wondrously. I should have had that in big, bold, red letters. It says, let me read it again. It says, so Manoah took a kid with the meat offering and offered it upon a rock unto the Lord, just like Gideon. And the angel did wondrously. Wonder what that means. And Manoah and his wife looked on as he did wondrously. For it came to pass, when the flame went toward heaven from off the altar, that the angel of the Lord ascended in the flame of the altar. And Manoah and his wife looked on it and fell on their faces to the ground. But the angel of the Lord did no more appear to Manoah and to his wife. Then Manoah knew that he was an angel of the Lord. So if Manoah and his wife had suspected that there was more than meets the eye with this guy, then he left them little doubt with his final act. This story is so similar to Gideon's. Just like with Gideon's angelic encounter, the angel does not reveal his true identity until he exits. Everything is the same. They detain what appears to be a man that they're suspicious of. And they go present him with an offering. And in both encounters, they offer the offering on a rock. And in both encounters, there's a flame on the rock. And in both encounters, the angel disappears and ascends into the flame. Manoah asked the angel what his name is in a real slick and clever way. And the angel answers it in turn in a real slick and clever way. The angel answers in a way that is a dead giveaway as to who he is. The angel says, Why would you ask my name when you know it's a secret? In other words, you already know my name. You already know that I'm not telling you my name, that my name is untellable. And I know that's not a word. What he's telling him is, yeah, dude, I'm what you think I am. Suspicion confirmed, buddy. The Bible also states that after Manoah presents his offering on the rock, that the angel does wondrously. Well, what the hell does that mean? Well, we don't know what that means, but it could give us a clue as to how he does what he does next, which is ascend into the flames, which makes absolutely no sense. Unless you believe in poof, of course. I should also note that hundreds of years from this story, the prophet Elijah is said to ascend to heaven in a fiery chariot. So this happens multiple times in the history of the children of Israel. Now, Manoah and his wife, they shook to the bone. They believe they have just seen the face of God. Manoah believes they will surely die. But his wife tells him God would not have went through all this work and all this trouble just to then turn around and kill us. Imagine that. Manoah's wife uses logic and applies it to God and their angelic encounter. She has not lost her footing. She's still on solid ground. She has not lost her reason. She's not going back and saying, oh, well, maybe a fire-breathing pink polka dot dragon will swoop down and carries us off, and and we can visit the land of Wonderland and Neverland, and you know what I mean? No, she didn't go there. She didn't lose her footing. She didn't lose her grounding. Her feet are firm on solid ground. And I think she's right. And now we see why the angel visited the brains of the two. Judges chapter 13 verses 22 through 25 reads, and Manoah said unto his wife, we shall surely die, because we have seen God. But his wife said unto him, if the Lord were pleased to kill us, he would have not received a burnt offering and a meat offering at our hands. Neither would he have showed us all these things, nor would he at this time have told us such things as these. And the woman bare a son, and called his name Samson. And the child grew, and the Lord blessed him. And the Spirit of the Lord began to move him at times in the camp of Dan between Zorah and Eshtaol. So, the prophecy of the angel that visited Manoah's wife comes true. And she gives birth to a baby boy who she names Samson. And that name, Samson, can also be translated into sunlight, shining, sunshine, or simply the sun. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that part, let me show you. This part I did backwards. What I should have did was read this first and then showed this slide, because I talked about how Samson's mama schooled his daddy before I read the actual verse of what Samson's mama schooled his daddy. But so is the life of an amateur. Bootleg Productions in the house, ladies and gentlemen. We have come to the conclusion of this engagement, of this meeting. Class dismissed. Meeting adjourned. I'd like to thank you for joining me for this episode of Son of a Preacher Man. If you have any questions, please leave them in the question section. If you have any comments, leave them in the same spot you left the questions. If you have any insults, compliments, if you want to flirt with the Soapman, yeah, leave it in the comments section. If you want to chop it up, if you want to jive, if you want to go back and forth, mano y mano, check out my bob and weaving skills. You know what I mean? Holla at your boy in the comments section. I would love to chop it up with you. I am immensely arrogant. I think I am a know-it-all. I would love to show you why. I'm not really arrogant, but I am absolutely a know-it-all. So I challenge you to prove me wrong on anything. Ladies and gentlemen, I will see you next episode. Same soap time, same soap channel. We out.